So you're trying to convert glucose to the G3P molecule. So it'll go glucose, an ATP will donate a phosphate, and it'll convert to glucose 6-phosphate. Now the glucose is trapped inside the molecule, right, because of the phospholipid bilayer, and now it's polar because of the donated phosphate. And then it'll go glucose 6-phosphate, fructose 6-phosphate, and then it'll get converted again to fructose 1,6-biphosphate, and then it'll get converted with another donated phosphate to the G3P and the DHAP, which gets converted to the G3P again. So now you have 2 G3P molecules. Prep phase costs you 2 ATPs, and now so you better get some of that back, right? So then the payoff phase, the G3P gets converted to the phosphate, and an NAD will go through, and then you'll get an NADH plus the hydrogen. That'll leave you with the phosphoglycerate, the 1,3-biphospho-glycerate, right? And then that'll get converted to the 3-phosphoglycerate, the 2-phosphoglycerate, the 1-phosphoglycerate, and then the phosphopyruvate, is it? And then you'll get another ATP out of that when it gets converted to pyruvate.
So how many ATP total?
So out of the payoff phase, you walk away with 4 ATP. And is it 2 NADHs?
Yep.
Okay.
And that process is called what?
That whole process was glycolysis.
Yep.
And then, so then that pyruvate can get pushed through from the cytosol to the mitochondria through transport proteins. If there's enough oxygen present, it'll lose CO2, or it'll kick off CO2. It'll produce another NADH, and then the coenzyme A will link up with the pyruvate, so then that'll give you the acetyl-CoA. That'll go into the Krebs cycle.
Yes.
If you don't have oxygen present, it'll go through fermentation. It'll give you lactate, or lactic acid, which will break down pretty quickly to lactate, in which case you're just going to go and donate the hydrogen from the NADH, creating an NAD that can re-enter the whole breakdown again. So at least you're getting 2 net ATPs out of that. It's not ideal, but it's better than nothing, right? And then, so once you have enough, then you have acetyl-CoA in the Krebs cycle. That'll donate, and then you'll be left with a coenzyme A, and then it'll get converted to citrate.
Yes.
It'll get converted to isocitrate, and then the isocitrate, when it goes to the alpha ketoglutarate, that is kicking out CO2, and it's also getting converted from NAD to NADH plus with the hydrogen. The alpha keto will get converted to the succinyl-CoA, and that's where there's another CO2 molecule getting kicked out. The NADH is getting converted to the NADH plus the hydrogen. The succinyl-CoA will convert to the succinate, where GDP is getting converted to GTP, and it's kind of repeating that because it's donating one of the phosphates to the ADP. So that's actually a step where you'll get ATP out of that as well. The succinate will go to car should stop. A car in Kansas should stop for the fumarate, and that's where the one process, the F and F, so the FAD will get converted to the FADH plus hydrogen, so another electron carrier. The fumarate will go to the malate. That's where the H2O, the water, will actually help convert that, and then from the malate to the I can't pronounce it all the time, oxaloacetate.
Yes.
And that's the final step where you'll get one more NADH plus a hydrogen. before it restarts everything, as long as acetyl-CoA is present.
Yes.
So the whole point of that process is to get as many electron carriers as you can for the electron transport chain. So I think the net is 6 NADH, 2 FADHs, 2 ATP molecules out of just the citric acid cycle. Might not be on there. I think that's on there. I think that's
It's not
close.
on here.
And then so you'll take all those electron carriers, and then you'll go into the electron transport chain in the intermembrane, where you'll the NADH will donate the electron at the protein 1, FADH will be at the protein 2. Either way, because of the redox potential, the electron has a higher affinity to get pushed down until it gets to the enzyme protein 4, whatever it is, in which case that can hold on to the oxygen, and that's where you'll just kick out H2O. Versus if there was an imbalance in the supply and demand, it would get kicked out to the peroxide early. Regardless, that's giving you the energy that you need to pump against the gradient to pump the hydrogen into the intermembrane space. That's creating enough of that gradient where you can use that to push the hydrogens down through the ATP synthase, where it links up with ADP, and you're rephosphorylating to ATP, and you'll continue that process as long as you're able to donate enough electrons. And so I think net you'll get 36 ATP out of that process. So that is glucose all the way through the energy metabolism to energy.
Hey, James.